Recently, we had a challenge in the Facebook group that was if we reach 1,000 members, I would do a live conspiracy-centered podcast dressed as Alex Jones. Well, this got me thinking about some of the so-called conspiracies that turned out to be true, and that gave me the idea to make this video. By definition, a conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful, but thanks to media coverage and a few eccentric people, the term conspiracy theory was given a very bad name. So what about these so-called conspiracy theories that turned out to be true? Well, I think we need to start with Project Sunshine. Project Sunshine was a series of research studies that began back in 1953 and were used to ascertain the impact of radioactive fallout on the population. This project was commissioned by the United States Atomic Energy Commission and the USAF Project RAND. Project Sunshine was actually kept secret and wouldn't be known publicly until 1956. Now, initially, it would appear that this was just normal Cold War era testing and there isn't much more to look at, but that couldn't be further from the truth. On January 18th, AEC Commissioner Willard Libby said that there was insufficient data regarding the effects of nuclear fallout due to a lack of human samples, especially samples from children. Libby was then quoted as saying, "I don't know how to get them, but I do say that it's a matter of prime importance to get them, particularly in that younger age group." This quote led to over 1,500 samples being gathered, many of which were of babies and young children and were often taken from Australia and Europe. Now, while disturbing, this wouldn't be as eerie if these were willingly donated samples, but it was discovered that many of these cadavers were used without their parents' consent or knowledge. According to the investigation that was launched after a British newspaper report, scientists had obtained children's bodies from various hospitals and shipped them to the United States. A British mother even reported that her stillborn baby's legs were removed by British doctors, and in order to prevent her from knowing what had happened, she was not allowed to dress the baby for the funeral. Next on the list would have to be the secret life of the Dalai Lama. In a report titled Seemingly Sacred, light was shed on the relationship between the Dalai Lama and the CIA. The report said an emissary of the Dalai Lama contacted the United States through its embassy in New Delhi back in 1951. Both sides discussed military and financial aid to Tibetan separatists, and one of the Dalai Lama's older brothers actually attended the meetings. In the same year, the US Defense Department gave the Dalai Lama a letter which promised light weapons and monetary aid for the Dalai Lama. He would then receive a notable salary of $180,000 a year in order to aid the militants as well as disrupt China's infrastructure. Once the deal was made, the CIA would make airdrops providing the guerrillas with machine weapons, ammunition, medicine, and propaganda material. And according to the local newspaper, the Dalai Lama clearly stood closer to the CIA and knew way more than he had let on.
Going from one icon to another, did you know that John Lennon was actually placed under government surveillance? When John Lennon decided to move to New York City back in 1971, his song, "Give Peace a Chance," was well known, not only to music lovers, but to the US authorities as well. 2 years earlier, approximately 250,000 people sang that same song at an anti-Vietnam War rally. The FBI believed that Lennon was planning to tour the nation to promote his left-leaning politics and to incite the nation to cancel the Vietnam War. Between J. Edgar Hoover and a very paranoid President Nixon, who was determined to secure a second term, there were very few people in high places that wanted to give Lennon a chance. Over the next few years, the FBI gathered well over 300 pieces of intelligence on the former Beatle, and the file opened with a report about his appearance at an anti-war gathering in 1971 in Michigan. The FBI locked the documents for nearly 20 years, claiming that the information held within constituted a threat to the U.S. national security. One of the funniest bits of information gathered in the report explained how Lennon met a girl named Linda who owned a parrot. According to an FBI operative, the parrot would scream, "Right on," whenever the conversation would get heated. The information would only be revealed after a Freedom of Information Act bid was put into place. The last one on our list has to be one of the most outlandish, yet still true. Back in the 1950s and the 1960s, the Canadian government was so paranoid about homosexuality that they actually developed a gaydar machine. The fruit machine was a term for a device developed by Frank Robert Wake that, in theory, was supposed to be able to identify gay men. The subjects were made to watch pornography, and then the device measured the diameters of their pupils, perspiration, and pulse to supposedly gauge an erotic response. This machine was employed in Canada during a campaign to eliminate all gay men from civil service, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the military. The project was cut off in the late 1960s due to lack of funding, but the investigations continued, and the RCMP collected files on over 9,000 suspected gay individuals. The accuracy and functional mechanisms of the machine was questionable, and the entire test in several studies was proven to be so unreliable that the results would have to be dismissed. It is worth noting that the idea was based on a study done by an American university professor who gauged product advertising success in grocery stores based on the size of their pupils.
So what do you guys think? Are there any theories I missed or that I should have added to the list? Make sure you let me know in the comments down below, because for now, for tonight, I think we're going to have to add these proven conspiracy theories to our never-ending, but are always growing Tales from the Dark.